Hey, what's up YouTube? Here with another video, and today we're going to be talking about these two devices, modded Vita, modded 3DS. If you're wondering why is the quality so low, why are there two black bars on the side of the screen, it's because this is a webcam, a 720p webcam being blown up to fit the screen. Bear with me. So, I've had these consoles for going on maybe 2 years now. The very first video on this channel is actually a sort of review overview going over my modded Vita, what it's like to mod it, what do you get out of it. And since then I've gotten the 3DS, you know. Sadly, the 3DS was secondhand and the Vita was an import from Japan, brand new out the box. My opinion, if you stumbled upon this video somehow because you were thinking of modding one of these devices, just import it from Japan and get a brand new one, because the last thing you want is my situation where I really enjoy my 3DS, but because you want to focus up. Where was I? So I got the 3DS secondhand, and you know, to be fair, maybe I could have looked for a better one. And it does work fine. Like, it's not like it's broken, but the hinges are a little loose, so it doesn't, you know, it doesn't sit still. Obviously, it's scuffed up. The back is pretty bad. You can't really tell because the camera, but you know, it's got scuff marks all over it. It works. The 3D works. Everything works fine. There's scratches on the screen, which probably you can't tell, but one thing you probably can tell is, let me see if I can get it. This mark right here. This actually didn't come like this. It's just because I dropped the bitch. I dropped it off my bed and it fell pretty hard, and now there's that mark on it. So that's on me. But generally, the reason why I would say get a new one is because if you grab one of these and then mod it, you're probably gonna keep it, I don't want to say forever, but in case that bitch breaks. And I'm a little upset. It's a little annoying playing my 3DS and dealing with those scratches and fucking the mark on the screen again. That's me, but whatever. Even though it's gonna cost you extra, just get a new one, okay? Don't get it secondhand, because trust me, they're gonna say, they might show you a few of the scuffs, a few of the scratches, but they won't show you all of them. And that's what happened to me. Even I saw the pictures, I was like, oh yeah, it's scuffed, but I didn't realize there was shit on the screen. Just get it new, okay? Whatever, why are we here? Well, I've been using both of these more often because I didn't have a PS5. Now I have the PS5 Pro, but there was like a 2 to 3 week period where I didn't, and I was getting more acquainted with these. You know, I haven't used them as much as like when I first got them. Like, it's not like I'm coming to them periodically throughout the year or anything. So these past 2 weeks, I thought, let me make more of an effort to actually play a lot of the games that I have on these bitches. You know, like actually get my money's worth. And I gotta say, it's kind of an interesting discussion. It's kind of interesting talking about which one you should go for if you're looking to get one of these. I think it's interesting because on one hand, if we're talking about which one has a better library for the actual hardware in terms of Vita games, the Vita library versus the 3DS library, it's not really a competition. But as far as homebrew and hacking, you know, some people might like the Vita more than the 3DS for the reasons we're about to get into. So, first of all, let's talk about the hardware itself. With the Vita, you have two options. You have the fatter one that I have, which is an OLED screen, which is why I got it. You know, it's not modern OLED, so the OLED on this thing isn't as good as the OLED on like a 2023, 2022 TV, right? But it's still OLED. The colors are still nicer, the blacks are darker, right? It still makes a difference. That's why I went for this one. There's a slim version which doesn't have the OLED screen and doesn't have Bluetooth or Wi-Fi or some other random features removed. But because of that, the battery is a little bit longer. and it's slimmer. So for some people, it feels better in their hands. For me personally, I think the little bulkier version is better because you get more of a grip. And this one, all the material is metal and glass. The slim, all the material is a lot of plastic and aluminum. So this generally just feels nicer in like the hands. Like it's a little bit more heftier. Like it doesn't feel like a toy, right? So in that sense, hardware wise for the Vita, you get two options. Also, the Vita is more powerful than a 3DS, technically. We're gonna get into why that matters in the next section, but it is a more powerful console. In theory, you should be getting higher resolution games with higher frame rate, in theory. Talking about the 3DS has plenty of models. This is the new 3DS model. So there was the original 3DS, a 3DS XL, a 2DS, a new 3DS, a new 3DS XL, right? As far as the differences between the 3DS and the new 3DS, the new 3DS is slightly powerful, more powerful, a little bit more power. It comes with a C stick that is really shitty. I never use this in any games. There's 2 extra buttons on the back. I don't think these buttons were in other games. But the biggest reason why I think you should get the new 3DS over a regular one is the simple fact that it comes with, it's like a camera. One of these is just for like the front camera of the 3DS, but one of these, I think this little one right here, it's tracking your face. So like the problem with the 3D is that it's technically just an illusion on your eyes. Like it's not like, I don't know how else to explain it. Like it's just, like a photo. I don't know. What this little camera does is it kind of tracks your face and your eyes. So even if you sort of tilt the DS, maybe if it's a little bit off axis, maybe you move your head up a little bit down, the 3D will still stay in focus. It'll stay good, pretty much, which is kind of a big, not a big problem, but one of the problems with the 3D gimmick of the 3DS is like it kind of hurts your eyes because it's fucking like, you know what I mean? So I think it is worth it for that reason alone. Moving on to the homebrew hacking scene, whatever you want to call it, the modding part of these devices. The Vita, as far as actually getting the games on the devices, the Vita is way more simple. Once it's modded, the way you get the games is just from an application. You literally pick what game you want from the application. You hit X, it starts downloading right there. Vita, the new 3DS, you gotta unscrew the back of these screws, take out an SD card, put in SD card in, let me see if I can find it. Put the SD card in something like this. You put it in this little slot here, put this in the computer, drag and drop the file. After that, put it back in the 3DS, open up an external application, hit install, it installs, you got the game. A little annoying if like you spend an hour putting all these games on there and then you're like, I want one more. Right? That's kind of, it's a little annoying having to screw the bitch. So it's a little annoying, not a big deal because once all the games are there, it's fine. But nevertheless, it matters. What are the homebrew applications? Are there any games that are notable? Well, for the Vita, the main and only thing I would say for me personally that matters are the GTA, the original GTA trilogy. So Grand Theft Auto 3, Vice City, and San Andreas, the PS2 games. There's ports of those on the Vita that work fine. They work great. Like it's just you're playing San Andreas on your Vita, like if it was released on the Vita, pretty much. There's always Doom and Quake on both of them. I don't know why Doom and Quake always get ported to homebrew. I guess because they're like 30 megabyte games. I don't know, but I don't really care about those. Now, 3DS, kind of similar. There's not much, but there is one singular game that I would say takes the homebrew game scene, whatever you want to call it, to another level on the 3DS. And I can show you, but I can't really show you, because what I'm talking about is somebody ported Super Mario 64 onto the 3DS. Now, you might be saying, oh, that makes sense. It's a 3DS, Super Mario 64. What you wouldn't expect from this port is that the 3D works. So the 3D effect on every other port, game, whatever homebrew thing, when you turn the 3D on, obviously not gonna, because it's a homebrew port. You're not expecting the 3D to work. Towards the end of the life cycle of the 3DS, even Nintendo themselves were kind of starting to like not really fuck with the 3D effect because it was, people didn't really like it. The fact that there is a Mario 64 port on the 3DS with the 3D on, with the 3D, and it works a lot. Like it's in front of me right now, guys. It's in front of me right now. Again, like I can't show you the 3D because it's, you know what I mean? That's not how it works. But trust me when I say, I can't think of a cooler homebrew port game between both of these consoles than a port of Super Mario 64 with the 3D that actually works. I think that's genuinely fucking insane. It's insane that people really got spare time like that. So as far as homebrew hacking, getting the games on the systems, hacking it, the process, at the end of the day, if you could follow instructions, it's easy for both of them. But that 64 port, it's really cool. It's really cool. And I know there's some people out there, they fuck with 64. I don't. I'm not that nostalgic for it. But I know people, they got every version of 64 on every console, because it's just one of those games. And I get it. I've beaten it. It's a fun game. But whatever, I'm yapping. Really, realistically, the main reason why you would get either of these consoles is for the games, right? What games are on it. So because the 3DS is kind of a blowout, we're going to talk about the Vita first. It's not terrible when it comes to the games library. I think the thing that saves it is the fact that the PS Vita is backwards compatible with PS1 games and PSP games. Like you don't have to emulate those games on the Vita. They just work because it's backwards compatible, right? They just run as if you were running them on the original hardware. But because it's more powerful and I guess the architecture is just easier to work with, I would assume, actual emulators like GBA emulators, SNES emulators, even 64, there's a 64 emulator, stuff like that works better on the Vita than it does the 3DS, which, is kind of weird, but at the same time, the 3DS does have some eShop ports of certain old games, whatever. What I'm saying is, as far as like an emulation device, like I want to play a bunch of old games, PSP games, PS1 games, SNES games, even Game Boy games, they run better on the Vita. So if you're, for some reason, looking for a retro console and you don't want to get a Steam Deck, kind of a weird camp to be in, Vita's got your back. But let's talk about the actual Vita games. You got stuff like Final Fantasy X, Marvel vs. Capcom 3, Persona 4 Golden, Gravity Rush, the Metal Gear Collection, Uncharted Golden Abyss. There's 2 Tales of games, the Ratchet and Clank trilogy, the God of War duology 1 and 2, right? Grand Kingdom, Odin Sphere, Muramasa, Dragon's Crown. There's a lot of great games on the Vita, but if you're astute, you would realize that every single game besides the 2 Tales of games that are exclusive to the Vita, you can play somewhere else, on your PS5, on Steam. Literally every game I said is very modernly accessible in some other platform besides the Vita. Even more accessible, and then most likely it's going to run better because it's on more powerful hardware, right? That's unfortunate. It's a very unfortunate fact of the library of the Vita, is that it was not supported by Sony. Sony released 3 fucking games on the thing. That was it. And then people that did take advantage of it, we're at the point now where the games just got ported to other consoles. You know, it sucks, but when we're talking about the games, man, I mean, hold on, let me back it up. PSP versus DS, I think the PSP wins. There's a lot of great games, a lot of exclusive games that you still kind of can only play on a PSP. There's Final Fantasy Tactics, Third Birthday. Listen, there's good PSP games, okay? And not like there's not good DS games, but I think PSP versus DS, I think the PSP has a better library of games. 3DS versus PS Vita, like guys, like it's like the meme. What is it? Hydrogen bomb versus like crying baby. Like it's not close at all. Like we're talking about not only are a lot of the games 9s, 10s, fantastic Nintendo quality games, right? They're still exclusive to the 3DS. You need a 3DS to play them unless you want to emulate them. But I would argue that's not the optimal way of playing a 3DS game. You know, having two screens blown up on one screen, no 3D. So there's more of a justification for going out of your way to grab a 3DS. The 3D Zelda games, guys, come on. Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask. First of all, let's talk about Majora's Mask on the 3DS for a second. Listen, apparently there was a bunch of hoopla as far as the real Majora's Mask fans talking about, oh, the 3DS version, it's cool, but they changed a lot of things, you know, a lot of weird decisions that take away from the original core design aspects of Majora's Mask, right? To make it more accessible, to make it easier, shit like that. There is a patch for Majora's Mask that you can apply to the game and play on your 3DS that makes the game, I guess, function, act, I don't know. It makes it more like the original Majora's Mask on the 64 while still being the remaster with the updated visuals and blah blah blah. That's really cool. I've had it on my 3DS for like 2 years now, never started it. I plan to one day, but the thing that's kind of holding me back is, you know, it's like, do I want to experience Majora's Mask with this little scratch on the bottom left corner of my screen? That sounds stupid, but it's really how I feel. Probably not. So it's just been sitting on my 3DS, sadly. Xenoblade Chronicles, I mean, it's not the best way to play the game, the 3DS version of Xenoblade Chronicles. Also, one of the few new 3DS exclusives, like you can only play Xenoblade Chronicles with a new 3DS, not the old one. There is now a definitive edition for the Switch. It's probably the best way to play the game because it looks better, it runs nicer, blah blah blah. So, but still, Xenoblade Chronicles on the 3DS. You can't be mad at that. Luigi's Mansion, both of them, they done ported the GameCube one and then made a sequel. They're on the 3DS. The second one just got remastered for Switch, wait, maybe like a month or two ago. So, like, it's taken them a while to get to this 3DS catalog. Metroid Samus Returns, whole ass Metroid game, just a remake of Super Metroid, I'm pretty sure. A Link Between Worlds. I haven't played it. People love that fucking game. It gets 9s and 10s. Exclusive. The Fire Emblem 3DS games, probably my favorite series on the 3DS. Awakening, Fates, you know, Conquest and Birthright and Revelations. I could go without all three of them, I'm not gonna lie. You know, I think Awakening and Echoes Shadows of Valentia are like S tier games, and all three of the Fate ones, they're like B tier. They're still good, they're still fun, but it's like, okay, like clearly they very much leaned into the fan service part of the games. And I don't like the Pokemonifying of taking one game and splitting it up into 3 fucking games. Like, what? Like, no, I'm not buying your game 3 times. Regardless, all exclusive, really good games. The Mario RPG games, guys. I mean, the new one came out. I'm hearing mixed things. So We still got Superstar Saga remastered on the 3DS, 60 frames, quality of life updates. Granted, there's no 3D, which kind of sucks. I would love to play that remastered with the 3D effect, but there's no 3D, and there's no 3D for the Bowser's Inside Story remasters either. But there's 3D for Dream Team. That shit looks clean. Okay, Mario RPG. First of all, Mario RPGs. I don't know if you guys knew this. Yoko Shimomura, the composer of Kingdom Hearts, composes the music for all the Mario RPG games. Are you kidding me? Go play those. Mario 3D Land. It's an easy game. It's an easy breezy game. It's not a hard Mario game. Still fun. Uses really good use of the 3D. Like some of the little missions using the 3D benefits. Like I don't even know how to explain it, but like the way the levels are designed, it's like if you use the 3D, it's like how the levels were supposed to be played. It's weird. It's cool. It's Mario 3D Land. The Pokemon games, guys. Sun and Moon, X and Y, Alpha Sapphire, Omega Ruby, Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. Out of those, I've played X and Y, Sun and Moon, Alpha Ruby, Omega Sapphire. I've played those ones. I haven't touched the Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. I mean, they're Pokemon games. On the 3DS, I think the 3DS generation is one of the better generations of the Pokemon. I mean, compared to what we're at now, I think, hindsight, it's a pretty decent generation. I don't know if it's better than OG Diamond and Pearl, Soul Silver, Heart Gold, Black and White 1 and 2. I don't know if it beats those. But they're still all great Pokemon games. They're great Pokemon games. Bravely Default? I fuck with some Bravely Default. I do. A nice little comfy JRPG. You can play the game with one hand. I love playing. You could play the whole game like this. One hand. Just the whole game. It was designed that way and it's beautiful. Love that game. Exclusive. Dragon Quest 8. I mean, that's not exclusive. Obviously, you can play it on the PlayStation 2. But they put Dragon Quest 8 on the 3DS? I didn't even know that until I fucking got the thing. I was like, what? Dragon Quest 8? No 3D. Sucks. No 3D, but what are you gonna do? Kid Icarus Uprising? Come on, guys. Kid Icarus Uprising. Fantastic. I mean, there's like two different forms of gameplay. There's the third person, you're on the ground hitting people. And then there's like the there's like the light gun sections where you're just shooting shit. The game's fun. It's got a great progression, great dialogue, great characters. It's a fun game. Exclusive. Radiant Historia, not exclusive. That's originally a DS game on the 3DS. Again, no 3D. Don't know why. Whatever. Project Cross Zone. I love these games. Maybe not love. I like these games, especially the second one. It's such a cool concept of having, Sega and Capcom, right? So we're seeing like Frank West and Jill meet up with like Heihachi from Tekken, and Dante from Devil May Cry is talking to like Phoenix Wright, who's talking to like Mega Man, who's talking to I don't know, like it's just like one of the most random crossovers ever. Maybe next to Tatsunoko versus Capcom, because Tatsunoko's a fucking like animation company, but I don't know. The crossover aspect is really cool. The gameplay is fun. Like it is a tactics game, right? But it's also like when you're doing the battles, you gotta like time your inputs and like juggle the enemy. Pretty much, it's pretty much all you're doing is just juggling them. But the animations are spectacular, and this is one of the games where it really benefits with the 3D. Most of the best games that I think use the 3D are, funny enough, 2D sprite-based games. So games that are either side-scrolling, where they can put a bunch of stuff in the background, in the foreground, and then like, you know, like that. Those games usually use the 3D really well, or sprite based games like Fire Emblem, like Project Cross Zone. The sprites really pop on the screen and it just makes everything look super cool. Project Cross Zone, exclusive to the 3DS. Monster Hunter 4, Monster Hunter Generations. I've heard Monster Hunter 4 is better, and after realizing that Generations runs at 30 frames and 4 Ultimate runs at 60, you can't go back. There's no going back to Generations. But granted, 2 great Monster Hunter games on the 3DS with the 3D. The 3D works. I think I've made my point. As far as the core library, the core games library, 3DS smashes the Vita out of the park. And generally, if we're talking about which one of these consoles should you pick up and you don't have either of them, I think the first choice is probably the 3DS, especially if you never owned a 3DS. If you never owned one of these, oh my god, I'm jealous. I'm jealous of you, because you could really just buy one of these. Granted, you know, importing it might cost you a bit extra, but you buy one of these. Where did I put it? You buy one of these, you buy an SD card, you get a bunch of 3DS games. They're all 9s and 10s, like straight up. I mean, Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time? What are we talking? Ocarina of Time is the most highest scored game on Metacritic. Period. I'm pretty sure. In theory, it's the best game of all time, if we're talking about mathematically and scientifically. And the remaster is still exclusive to the 3DS with 3D. The 3D works. I fuck with the 3D. I didn't mess with the 3D when I was a kid. When I was like 12, 13, I was like, ah, it hurts my eyes. I turned it off. Now, I think this shit's beautiful. I think Nintendo, they had something with 3D on the 3DS. Granted, it makes sense why they did, you know, why the Switch don't have 3D. But if the Switch 2 had 3D, I'm happy. That's not gonna happen, but I'd be happy. Is there anything else? I think that's it. I think that's enough yapping. Let me know in the comments if you have a modded 3DS, if you have a modded Vita, if you use them. Let me know some of your favorite games between these two consoles, between the PSP, between the DS. Let me know all that, and that's the video. So thank you for watching.